wherever you're listening to us in Palestine, in the US, in the diaspora. Welcome back to Borderlines, the only show that takes you beyond borders. My name is Ireti Bakare-Yusuf. So, a quick preamble. As you all know, we were all waiting for the ceasefire, and then the ceasefire happened in late January. Okay, Hamas and Israel came to an agreement with the ceasefire, the same ceasefire that had been on the table since May last year. Had that ceasefire been accepted by Israel, had President Biden, the then president of America, had he actually pushed that ceasefire, it is said by experts that some 10,000 lives would have been saved. But here we are. So the ceasefire began, and as of Monday, I think was it Tuesday, Hamas makes a statement. They will no longer continue with the hostage exchange. I say hostage exchange, Israeli hostages and Palestinian hostages. They said they will no longer continue with the hostage exchange, which is due tomorrow, unless Israel meets its obligations with the ceasefire. It is an absolute honor, again, to have with me Dr. Basem Naim, who is a senior spokesman for Hamas and is also a member of the Political Bureau, and he's the former Gaza health minister. Dr. Basem, thank you so much for joining us.
Please, you are welcome, and best wishes and regards for you and your team and your audience.
Thank you. Tell us, so as of yesterday, there was rumors going on that, Israel has basically, agreed to meet the request, and Hamas had said that they will release the hostages tomorrow. Where are we right now?
Thank you very much. I think it's very important what you have said at the beginning, that the ceasefire agreement we have signed on January 19th this year is the same Israeli proposal has presented to the movement in May last year, and we have accepted this proposal at that time. And therefore we have a great chance to save a lot of lives, Palestinian lives and Israeli lives, and also in other areas in Lebanon. We have said it from the beginning, we are committed to this ceasefire agreement. We are doing our maximum to comply to the agreement and to fulfill our obligations to make it possible to give it a chance to succeed. But unfortunately, we have discussed along the last 3 weeks through technical groups composed from the mediators, I mean the Qataris, the Egyptians and the Americans, plus Hamas and Israel, all the Israeli violations on a daily basis. Israel have prevented a lot of basic needs of the humanitarian aid to come into Gaza, including tents, caravans, electrical needs like solar energy or generators, heavy machinery to take the rubble and to dig for the more than 10,000 Palestinian lives still under the rubble, and plus the Israeli captured, the killed Israelis because of the Israeli bombardment, and plus other things. The Israelis still continue shooting against our people, and they have killed more than 25 Palestinians since signing the agreement. And lastly, we have had to start negotiating about the second phase, because this ceasefire agreement is composed of 3 phases. We have to start the negotiations about the second phase on the day 16 of the agreement. Now we are today in the day 27, and the Israelis are still reluctant to go for negotiations. Therefore, we have said it clear: if they are not comply to the agreement, if they don't fulfill their obligations, we cannot also continue handing over the captured Israelis. But the last 3 days, there were very intensive, very serious negotiations with the mediators and with the Israelis and with the Americans. And basically, we have succeeded to overcome this very serious station, so that the Israelis have said, okay, we are ready to allow the basic needs to come into Gaza. We are going to initiate or to start the negotiation about the second phase next week. Most probably, we are talking about Monday. And based on this, Hamas has said, okay, based on this, we are ready to hand over the 3 captured Israelis in return for 333 Palestinians from those who have been captured after or kidnapped after October 7th, and plus 100 plus Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. We hope that it will succeed to reach the final result of this agreement, which is a permanent ceasefire, a total withdrawal of the Israeli forces, and a serious prisoner exchange, plus the rebuilding of the Gaza Strip.
Okay, thank you. Let me just clarify for our listeners. Tomorrow's exchange is going ahead. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. However, when one of the demands that Hamas made was 200,000 tents, 60,000 mobile homes, and some heavy lifting equipment needed to be in Gaza, which Israel was supposed to have sent, which we understand are still waiting at the Rafah border. Has Israel given approval for those to come through? Have you seen the approval?
They have told the mediators that yes, these tents and mobile houses, plus the heavy machinery, plus generators and solar energy, and these needs for basic life, they will be allowed to enter Gaza Strip immediately on Sunday.
Okay, on Sunday. Do you believe that Israel will stick to that plan, to that agreement, to that promise?
To be honest with you and with your audience, we have signed with agreement the so-called Oslo Accord 1993, and since that time we have the same dirty games played by Israel. Every now they are creating excuses and to withdraw or to undermine or sabotage any agreement. But at the same time, we are looking with the other eye on our people, how to prevent the war again, how to stop this aggression, how to save the lives, and how to rebuild Gaza. But I think it is not the duty of Hamas or the resistance or the Palestinians. It is the duty of the international community, and before that, the mediators, mainly the United States, to oblige Israel to abide to the ceasefire agreement, and before that, to the international law, because Gaza, before October 7th, was under a suffocating siege for 17 years. Therefore, the international community has to do its job homework by obliging Israel to fulfill its obligation as an occupying power.
Indeed. But again, if we come back to now, so on Tuesday, or I think it was Monday or Tuesday, Hamas had said, we're not going to release hostages, Israeli hostages, unless Israel meets with, out of the 200,000 tents, according to reports, only 2,000 have been let in. Now you've said to us that Israel has told the negotiators, which is Qatar and Egypt, that those 200,000 tents, the 60,000 mobile homes, the heavy bulldozers, heavy machines will be in by Sunday. Do you believe Israel will deliver them on Sunday? And if Israel doesn't deliver them on Sunday, what happens next?
This is exactly what I want to say. We will wait until Sunday, and most probably tomorrow things will go ahead as it was planned. The handing over of the 3 Israelis and the Palestinians. On Sunday, if they are not committed to their word, I'm sure we will go back to the same vicious circle of risking the falling apart of this deal.
Okay. One of the rhetorics that we've heard from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is that he's instructing the IDF, to Israeli military, to get ready to go back to war in Gaza. Have you heard? Can you confirm that? And indeed, if Israel does decide to go back to war in Gaza, is Hamas ready?
Look, Netanyahu and his racist government for 15 years. They were in Gaza. They have bombarded Gaza, destroyed more than 80% of the Palestinian houses and residential buildings and UN buildings. They have killed more than 50,000 Palestinians and wounded more than 100,000. They have destroyed everything. They have converted Gaza into an unlivable place, but they have failed to achieve any of their declared goals. First of all, to crush the resistance. Second, to retrieve the captured Israelis forcefully. Third, to displace or to transform Palestinians outside the Gaza Strip. If they come back again, they have tried this for 15 months, supported by the Americans and by a lot of Western countries. Therefore, Palestinians in general, our people and the resistance will again resist such plans, and we are sure that they are going to fail again.
Now, let's talk about President Trump. You would have heard, of course, what he said since, about a week ago, that he wants to turn Gaza into the Riviera, that America will own Gaza, that he will develop it, that Gazans should move out of Gaza into Jordan or Egypt. What do you have to say to that?
I think it is a very silly idea. Sorry, but Palestinians are struggling now for more than 76 years against such ideas and plans, and they are so deeply rooted in their homeland, in their houses, that they have paid a lot of prices along the last 7 decades in order to prevent such plans. I believe that these people in the West, especially I'm talking in the United States, most of them are immigrants. Therefore, they don't understand the feelings of a homeland. What does it mean for someone to be in his land, and how is he deeply rooted? Palestinians have, along 15 months, paid very, very high prices. More than 2,500 Palestinian families wiped out from the civil registry in order to avoid. Can you remember in May 7, 2024, when in Rafah, when Israel invaded Rafah, at that time there was 1.3 million Palestinians in the city. When Israel invaded Rafah, no one single Palestinian moved towards Egypt. All of them moved to the north towards cities inside the Gaza Strip, despite they are aware that they are moving toward killing, destruction, famine, starvation. Therefore, Palestinians are not ready to go with such ideas. Second, why to do it? There are a lot of, first of all, there are a lot of options to rebuild Gaza without leaving the Gaza Strip. Second, instead of punishing or asking the Palestinians to leave the Gaza Strip, this has to be directed to Israel. They have to be punished for that what they have done or committed in the Gaza Strip. Okay. What he is asking for is an ethnic cleansing, is a forceful displacement of people. Therefore, it is rejected, it is refused, and you have seen not only Palestinians, but even other Arabic countries, Egypt, Jordan, and a lot of Arabic countries and Islamic countries, and even internationally, in one voice, they have rejected such ideas because it is a crime against humanity.
Okay. You talked about the rebuilding of Gaza. One of the questions that most people constantly say is, who is going to repay for the rebuilding of Gaza? The other thing that some say is Israel preventing those bulldozers, those heavy equipment machines, from going into Gaza in order to stop Palestinians from rebuilding Gaza? Those are two questions there.
Yes, I look, in other cases, for example, in the case of Germany, in the case of other war crimes committed by some state, those states who has committed these crimes, they have paid for the rebuilding. It has to be that Israel has to rebuild Gaza, which they have destroyed. But unfortunately, because of these double standard, because they are looking towards Israel as a state above the law, as a rogue state, they are asking others to do this job. Anyway, we are aware that today there are, because when we signed the ceasefire agreement, there was also a so-called humanitarian accord or a humanitarian document. This humanitarian document is talking about 3 phases. The first phase, which is the relief of the people, the aid, the humanitarian aid, the housing, but then the long-term rebuilding. Based on this, there should be an international conference, most probably in Cairo. It will be attended by a lot of countries around the world, including UN agencies. And there are now already plans discussed between the UN, the Arabic countries, and Islamic countries, and EU, and so on, how to rebuild Gaza while the Palestinians there. They are talking about 50 to 70 billions of US dollars. These plans, immediately after we reaching a permanent ceasefire and total withdrawal of the Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, have to start on the ground from different countries, from different directions. But as you said, unfortunately, because again they are dealing with Israel as a rogue state, as a state above the law, Israel might block some of these activities, might deter or might prolong this process to make the life in Gaza so difficult, to push Palestinians forcefully or voluntarily to leave the Gaza Strip.
Okay.
But again, Gazans are ready to stay above the rubble of their houses, but they are not ready to leave their houses.
Okay, when the King of Jordan, King Hussein, went to meet with Trump, he left Trump with the following words, that Egypt was going to come back after the Arab summit with a plan, for rebuilding of Gaza. Are you aware of what could be in that plan, and is there any part of it that you could share with us? Have you been involved in making that plan?
Yes, we have, not so much details, but we have heard from our Egyptian brothers that they have asked their well-known experts in building of cities and rebuilding of destroyed areas. And they have called also UN agencies and AU bodies to sit around the table to discuss a plan. They are talking now again about a plan of 3 phases. It has to cost around 50 to 70 billion dollars. These 3 phases, again, the first phase is how to care for the Palestinians for the temporary phase, a kind of tents or mobile houses, to have a basic infrastructure so that they can go back to their normal life, schools, hospitals, churches, mosques. Then the long-term building phase, they are talking about that a lot of countries have shown their readiness to participate in this plan, in the implementation of this plan. But again, it depends on reaching a permanent ceasefire and the total withdrawal of the Israeli forces from the Gaza Strip, because they have said we cannot start a so huge rebuilding, implementing a very comprehensive and sophisticated rebuilding plan while the Israeli forces are on the ground, and they might destroy it again. Therefore, we are waiting eagerly to see the announcement of a permanent ceasefire and the total withdrawal of the forces.
Do you think, if you could answer that very quickly, so I can go on to another question, do you think Israel will actually get as far as to stage 3 of the permanent ceasefire, like the end of the atrocities? Do you think so?
Look, to be honest, based on our experience with the Israelis, we are not so optimistic. They might announce a permanent ceasefire and total withdrawal, but as I told you, Gaza Strip the Israelis have withdrawn from inside the cities. They have redeployed their forces outside the Gaza Strip, but they have continued to suffocate Gaza from outside by controlling the ground and the air and the sea. Second, look, today, while they are attacking the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. At the same time, they are attacking Palestinians in the West Bank, in Jenin. They have already displaced people. Therefore, unfortunately, this country or this entity or this state, they are talking about peace, coexistence, but at the same time, their behavior is so brutal that it is contradictory totally with such goals.
Okay, so let's talk about the West Bank. I still have 2 more questions and I'm running out of time. Let's talk about the West Bank. Since the ceasefire of Gaza began, ethnic cleansing of the West Bank literally began in parallel, right? Israel and Palestinian Authority have been fighting in the West Bank to the point where Al Jazeera, of course, has been banned from actually having presence in the West Bank. What is going on in the West Bank, and who is actually, I mean, some call it even a micro war that's going on in the West Bank. Who is speaking up for the people of the West Bank? Because we're hardly hearing anything about it.
To be honest, it is very, very painful and disappointing to talk at this moment about the West Bank because of 2 reasons. First of all, we see that in the West Bank, there is no Hamas, there is no October 7th, and despite of this, the Israelis are still continue their aggression, annexation of land, destroyment of houses, displacement. Today, 50,000 Palestinians are displaced from Jenin refugee camp. I mean, they have said that the year 2025 is they are going to declare the sovereignty of Israel over the West Bank. But on the other side, unfortunately, the PA, the Palestinian Authority, which has to defend the Palestinians and to defend the Palestinian rights, they are buying illusions from the Americans and from the Israelis that if they cooperate with the Israelis, they might protect their privileges, they might protect their existence, and therefore, unfortunately, they are cooperating with us or collaborating with the Israelis in different areas in the West Bank, in Jenin, in Tulkarem, in Nablus, against their own people. And at the end of the day, I am sure most of the ministers in the Israeli cabinet are calling to dismiss the PA in Ramallah, the Palestinian Authority, and to send them outside the country and to declare a total sovereignty over the West Bank and to annex the West Bank to Israel.
Okay, there's so much for us to talk about, but we've only got 4 minutes. Some have said that because the West, they refuse to talk to Hamas, given what's happening with the PA, as you've just said, the Palestinian Authority, which party is now the official representative for the Palestinian people as a whole? I'm talking about the 2 million in Gaza, the 3 million in the West Bank. Who is speaking for the Palestinian community as a whole?
Unfortunately, this division, the Palestinian division, which has been caused by Israel and the Americans and has been used by the Israelis and the Americans to deny the Palestinians an efficient and legal spokesman or a leadership to speak on behalf of all Palestinians. We have tried in different stations to achieve a reconciliation and unity, and then the Americans and the Israelis have pressured President Mahmoud Abbas, if you continue negotiating or reconciling with Hamas, you will not be a partner in the peace process. Obama once said, either a peace process or reconciliation, either Hamas or Israel. And based on this, our brothers, they have distanced themselves from continuing this reconciliation. Therefore, today, we are talking on behalf of all Palestinians that this is the way how to get rid of the occupation. And there is another party who is there in the West Bank and see that there is no other option than to continue negotiations, despite of the illusions we have seen along 30 years. This division has to end. Unity is not a choice. Unity is a must. We have to continue struggling for the Palestinian unity.
My last two questions, and I'm going to need you to answer it in less than 2 minutes. Number one, if Israel, and I don't think your answer was clear earlier, if Israel returns back to war in Gaza, what will Hamas do?
Hamas is a Palestinian resistance movement. If we can achieve our goals by getting rid of the occupation peacefully and politically, that's it. If not, we are ready to continue our resistance until we achieve our national goals of dignity and freedom and independence and self-sovereignty, regardless of the prices.
Okay. The other thing is, how likely again? What is the consequences if the ceasefire does not hold? What are the consequences of that, both for the people and going forward for the progress?
I think if the ceasefire agreement fall apart or collapse, it will be a catastrophe.
Okay.
But it will not be a catastrophe only for Palestinians. Again, the Palestinian cause is the occupation here is the cause or the root of all evil in the region. Therefore, without solving the Palestinian question, the whole region will continue to stay in instability, and we will not reach security, stability, or prosperity or peace in the region unless the Palestinians have achieved their goals of an independent, self-sovereign state.
Thank you very much, Dr. Basem Naim. It's much appreciated for you coming to give us an update.
Please, thank you very much.
Thank you. Be well. Bye-bye.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info.